Hello and welcome, listeners and viewers. This is 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. Anyone who's listened to or watched my podcast before knows that I just love connecting with and hosting conversations with guest coaches. And my primary aim is to help people understand a bit more about what coaching is about and to promote coaches, as well as to indulge my love and value of learning a bit. So this series 4, really focuses on NLP and neuro-linguistic programming, as it is in the long form, with the title Inside NLP, Life Lessons from Practitioners. So if you're trained in or you are training in the use of NLP, maybe you're just fascinated by the concept, I believe this is going to be of good value to you. And for folk who are new to NLP, I'm going to be asking each of my guests to describe their understanding of NLP. It is such a broad concept, and though it's not usually used independently from other interventions, it can be so valuably integrated into coaching conversations. And without, as they say, any further ado, let me now introduce my guest this week. She is the philosophical thinking life coach. I bet you're already intrigued. I was. She's a teacher, mentor, and independent trainer, and personal performance coach, and also an NLP practitioner. So welcome, Alison Allsopp.
Oh, thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Really very pleased to be here and talking to you about NLP and my experiences. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Alison. I'm looking forward to our conversation. And so how are you doing today, Alison?
No, I'm doing really well, thank you. Having every Monday morning, one always has a little bit of it's Monday morning, and so you've got to get yourself in the right place for the week. But no, all a great start, thank you.
Good, that's
Yes.
good. So when you very kindly responded to my cold call message on LinkedIn, which was a bit of a gamble, so thank you for responding. And we met just over a month ago, I think. I
Yes.
remember that when we chatted, we found we had quite a lot in common, and one of them was the town of Gosport,
Indeed.
where I recall that you run workshops in the museum and the art gallery there. So
Right.
have you got anything planned that's coming up soon?
Well, actually, I've just completed a course, so I'm very pleased actually to be. I'm a tutor at the Hampshire Learning in Libraries,
Ah,
and I run a course called Finding Your Life Direction, and I run it sort of a couple of times a year. Well, maybe two or three, yeah, three times a year, and it's for women who have got to a bit of a crossroads in life and want to think about what direction they want to take. And I've done 3 sessions over the last month, and we've just finished that on last Tuesday. And I'm really pleased to say that the ladies were just so willing to, take a lens to their life and think about themselves and prioritize that time. And they want to meet up and continue being supportive of one another. So I couldn't really wished for a better outcome, really.
that's wonderful. And your sessions are all in person, are they, in those group sessions?
They are. I'm really
Yeah.
very lucky, and it's something that I have thought about a lot. But my background really is about in philosophical thinking and working with communities, and so it's very important to me to be together in a room face to face.
Yes. Yeah. Understood. Yeah. And we did chat a bit about that, didn't we? About the
Yeah.
concept of philosophical thinking, especially for children. And so,
Yes.
Alison, I think it might be a good thing, first off, if I could get you to tell podcast viewers and listeners a little bit about philosophical thinking, how you got involved in
Yes.
the notion of helping people to think and
Yes.
question and reflect, and how
Um,
you apply it to your work now. I think, is
yes,
that with the
indeed.
charity SAPERE,
That's
is it called,
right.
Phil?
It's a difficult name to pronounce, but it's with. I worked for many years as a trainer and as part of the team, um, advocating for philosophical inquiry in education. And SAPERE
SAPERE.
are the
Wow.
organisation, yeah, national charity. In fact, they're changing their name because it's so difficult for us to pronounce and tell everyone.
Okay.
So we're changing very soon. They're changing their name to Thoughtful. So thoughtful.org.uk will be what their trading name will be. But essentially, I came to it through being a teacher. I mean, my background's in primary education for many years, and I came across this organization when I was a bit of a crossroads myself about what I wanted to do as a career. And I just I just completely fell in love with the idea of thinking philosophically. So, putting aside sort of the academic world, this is about asking questions, important questions, and talking about what matters in life. And I've really talked to and worked with many teachers and many children in schools across the country, not just advocating for philosophical inquiry, but also training teachers in order to do that with their children. And and it's just a way of it's having a philosophical conversation means thinking and talking more deeply about important things that are common to us all in life,
Mm.
such as what we care about, what motivates us, our beliefs, and how we can sort of better understand ourselves and people around us. And so I saw very much, um, I wanted to continue that philosophical, my advocacy, and how important that is not just in my work but in my life, because I'm a very reflective person myself. I enjoy asking questions, working things out, hearing what other people have got to say, looking at different perspectives. So I decided to qualify as a coach with the Coaching Academy. And I'd done a lot of coaching and mentoring, but I hadn't got a specific qualification. And then it just struck me that actually, in coaching, what we do is we're helping people to think about what they want to do in life, what they care about. So that idea of what's important, what's your meaning and purpose in life, what are your values, what do you care about, seemed to be central to the sort of coaching that I wanted to offer. So yeah, it's a style of coaching which just now allows people to reflect more deeply on themselves,
Mm.
and that's where I've got to, and I do that on an individual basis, but also very much in bringing other people together. So in my course last week, it was about me facilitating and coaching in a certain way, but mostly about building a community to enable people to support one another and to reflect on their life and what they want to do,
Mm.
what they want to be, what they want to do, what they want to have, is the be do have.
Yeah, sounds very familiar. Thank you for that explanation, Alison. That's really helpful. So I know, having read a bit around it after I met you, that the principles and the methodology and the model is around four kind of characteristics of thinking that are
Yeah,
promoted, these kind of
yeah,
caring thinking, collaborative thinking, like you were just mentioning there,
absolutely.
critical and creative thinking. Um, is there a particular structure to the way in which you use philosophical thinking in your coaching?
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, it centers very much around a structured approach, a questioning approach, certainly. Um, and it's about again just going back to those four, their ways of thinking, which is critical, creative, caring, and collaborative. So I guess in the context of an individual, it's helping people to think in a more creative way. And I mean by that, looking at things from different perspectives themselves, things that they haven't looked at before, but also, and this is where it does link somewhat to NLP, about thinking about their perceptual position in terms of everyone else and how they interact or interrelate to other people and how other people see them and they see other people. And I think it's also it's the critical thinking, is the deeper thinking. So using questioning very much to get away from our surface everyday thinking, but think about concepts and big ideas. And so what I mean by that is, for example, we talked the other day about what is a value, what does it mean? What is a value? So people say, oh, what are your values? But what does that mean? And what does that mean to you? And then each of those values, again, you might have the value of collaboration, or you might have the value of leadership or kindness. What does that mean, and what does that look like? So I would, as a coach, question more deeply around that.
Mhm. And that kind of makes, as you were talking, I was thinking about some of the exercises and the techniques used in NLP are about not just the sort of conscious thinking about these things, but also allowing other less accessible processes that are going on behind our consciousness to
Yes,
come forward to kind of add to the quality of
yes,
that lens, that perception, if you like. Yeah.
yes.
So oh, go on.
Oh, no, no, please.
So yeah, you mentioned NLP. What kind of drew you towards NLP in relation to
Um,
philosophical thinking?
Again, that was quite interesting. So I those are not when I had an opportunity when I was training for the main coaching qualification to take another module. And having a background in education, I thought sort of naturally I might go towards that. But when I read a little bit more into it, I came across the neurolinguistic programming, and I was just quite intrigued by it. Sort of hadn't really, it wasn't something that I'd come across before. So one, I think I was something new, so that was interesting. But then when I read a bit more deeply, something that would connect to the, yeah, as you were mentioning, the conscious and unconscious thinking that we often sort of use. And so I plummeted for that. But I have to say, in the first, it was a 6 month training, quite intense, and a lot of practice that I did with others, and we did with each other. Other peer coaches, but I think the first few times I was a bit skeptical about it, um, because there are lots of tools and strategies that um, get you to visualize and to certainly use your sensory experiences. And I'll maybe go into a little bit more about that rather than your actual feelings. So at first I got this, oh, it's about how I feel, but it's not about how you feel. It's about where, it's about your, what you see, what you hear, um, what you say to yourself. And where you feel that in certain parts of your body. So I was thinking, oh, maybe it won't work. And then over time, we practiced such a lot with my colleagues, with each other, that I just suddenly sort of began to have a sense that actually my mindset on certain things had changed, and that it was becoming very useful to use certain what we call anchors in order to help myself in certain situations. Um, and then I was, yeah, pretty much taken with it.
Mm,
Yeah, pretty much sold on it. And yeah, I think it's very well, those people who are open to it, it works really very, very well.
mm.
Yeah.
I mean, I often feel about coaching and particularly NLP, because I had the same kind of resistance initially to
Mm.
thinking that this was going to be good practice. In fact, I'll be honest and thought it was a bit of woo woo until, like you,
Yes,
I experienced it, and
absolutely.
that is it's the whole thing of experiencing it and seeing the changes it can make that are really significant.
Yes,
So when you're thinking about applying NLP in your work, how do
yes.
you explain what it is to people? How do you explain what you're going to be
Yeah,
doing?
and in fact, yeah, it's a really good question, and it's one that came up last week because I introduced that to my group of ladies on the course, and I said to them, it's about how we move from um, a negative state of mind to a more positive state of mind. So it's very future focused.
Mm,
So it's about how we manage our state of mind, the way we think. And if our state of mind, if we take there are certain um, positions that we take, for example, that your state of mind can change. So if we believe that our state of mind can change, and actually, we know it can. I mean, this morning I can feel one thing, and in the afternoon I can feel another thing, because things during our day affect the way that we feel. So if we become much more aware of that, and this is what how NLP is really, really helpful, if we're in control of our minds, then we're in control of how we respond to things. And so we can move from being not in a very good state of mind into a positive one for that particular moment. So I'm not advocating for this sort of happy all the time. We've all got to be in that state. I'm advocating that in life there are challenges, whichever way we look at it. Um, there are challenges during a week, a day, even an hour there can be challenges, and some people have really difficult things to face, and there is a way of being able to manage that, to get through that. And I think NLP is one print. Well, I wouldn't call it a tool. I call it a set of principles by which, if you take these principles on, um, and use the tools that explore those principles, then you can have a more positive approach to life, essentially.
That's a fantastic way to describe NLP, actually. I'm finding every time I ask a different person, I get some really interesting answers. So thank you for that.
It's all
Um,
right.
so let's move to your particular NLP interest today, Alison. When we last met, we kind of chatted generally around the principles of NLP, and our focus for discussion on the episode today is language and NLP. So, in what ways are these two things connected for you?
Mm. Well, again, I'm sort of drawing on just my recent experience, and uh, how very much the language that we use to describe ourselves, generally in life, and the things that we say, the phrases that we use, the what we call our limiting beliefs, if you like, the negative things that we say to ourselves, oh, I can't do that, or I'm rubbish at that, or oh, so and so thinks I'm. Or so it's very much related to just what we go about naturally saying, and we don't even notice that we're saying it half the time. But how becoming more aware of the language that we use, or having a coach to say, oh, I just did notice that you do say that quite a lot, that you say that you'll never be able to do that. I'm just wondering what that's about, and do you mean never? And could you tell me a little bit more about it? So it's about raising that awareness of that language, and moving that language from, okay, so if we didn't say that or think that, what else might we be saying to ourselves, or how might we be projecting what we really would rather be doing or feeling, than what we actually do say, because using that language in a negative way is often a barrier. It's a barrier, it's an obstacle, because it means we never make progress, we don't move forward unless we change the way that we talk about ourselves.
Mm.
So
And
yeah,
you,
I think, yeah, go on.
I was just thinking that you said that you'd worked with groups of people and individuals, and and across all age ranges. Have you noticed any difference, Alison, in the way that people talk about themselves as children compared to as adults?
Um, mm, yes, I think children are less self-critical, I would say, or maybe it's not. I think what I do notice, particularly about children, and adults as well, is that we tend to make, what they have in common is that we tend to make a lot of assumptions. So, um that's always the case. But we always do that, or oh, that's never. So it's using the language of sometimes, always, sometimes, and never, and how we switch between those words when we're talking about things. So children will say, like, oh, well, that always happens. If they're explaining something in a philosophical inquiry, they might say, oh, because they truly believe that always happens, or it never happens, because that is within their experience. So I guess my role in both cases, as a facilitator and a coach, is to challenge some of those assumptions. So I might just say, what, never? Never, that never happens. Does anyone agree with that? And again, and applying that to an individual when they say those sorts of things, that exactly challenging those words in the same way. So I'd say, yeah, overall, children less critical of themselves outwardly, adults always saying things and not really thinking about what they're saying, I would say. But generally, yeah, there are things in common with both.
Mm, mm.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, isn't it? With children, I've also heard the always, sometimes never,
Yeah.
as a sort of a vocalization of an attempt at being confident about something,
Yes.
as a way to say, I know all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made me think about how important it is to challenge that with children,
Yes.
because we know, don't we, that when we're filtering information that form the generalizations
Mm.
that we create, um, that that happens from a very early age, and we're filtering to confirm those always, never, sometimes, not to challenge them
Yeah.
unless we move into your reflection uh,
Yeah.
and deeper
Yeah.
thinking. Um,
Yes. You've just reminded me there of the face map in NLP. You know, when you mention all information coming into us at such a fast rate all the time, so much information that I think the percentage of what we remember or think about is very, very small.
mm,
But the information coming in through all our senses, what we're seeing, what we're hearing around us, um, and also that information coming as a what we then choose to filter.
mm,
So as a what we delete, so what we just ignore, what we make generalizations, and that's what I've just been talking about, generalizations, but also what we distort to believe for ourselves, and how that information then is affects comes into our minds. We generalize, distort, or delete, and then that then affects the way that we think about ourselves, and then that affects then has an impact on our behavior
mm,
and our mood and how we
mm,
conduct ourselves. So I guess I'm going back round to what I was saying. If we as coaches through NLP is very helpful, but generally actually as a coach can challenge some of those deletions, distortions and deletions. And then we have help people to have greater awareness of what it is that they're thinking about. And I always think about that one where I always think about that one where you never hear, or you distort, that one where you send somebody a text and they don't reply to you, and therefore you think that they're in a mood with you. You just sort of make up a story for you.
mm,
That's an example.
mm.
um yeah,
Yeah,
I've
and
made
curious
peace
what
with
you were
that.
saying about as adults, it's almost like we form a habit about the way
Mm.
we think and so speak about ourselves. And you said we choose to filter, and I think there comes a point where actually that filtering just happens automatically.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, and so it
Yeah.
takes some really quite deep challenge to kind of make us rethink it, or to
Yeah.
reframe the way we perceive it. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, you're right. Yes, we don't choose it. It is unconscious, isn't it? Is what you're saying. And it's unconsciously done because we become in a habit of it. And actually, when I did a session last week on taking a negative belief and then thinking about what your positive intention was for that negative belief. So often it's because it makes us feel a bit safer. It's something we've always said about ourselves, or we prefer to believe because it's easier. It's just easier because we don't have to really do anything about it. So it has a sort of positive intention, but then saying, okay, well, if I didn't think that, what would be my new belief? And that is a really powerful thing to do, and a very much an NLP approach to say, well, what if this is my negative belief? What would I rather? What is my new belief? What do I choose to think about myself that is going to be more helpful for me?
mm,
So what would I rather move away from and move towards in order to help me manage my state of mind
mm.
and some of
Yeah,
the challenges that I have?
yeah. And that, as you say, that is where the
Yeah.
choice comes in, to make a
Yeah.
change to the way in
Yeah.
which we choose to think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think
fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, certainly the awareness side of NLP is really important. Yeah, raising that awareness is a very big thing um, in
Mm.
NLP. Yeah.
Now, you referenced state earlier, Alison, and I know one of the things we'd talked about before in terms of NLP principles was a kind of optimal state that a client and a coach are in when they are having that conversation together.
Mm.
What would you say that state is at its optimum?
How, in what way in what way do you, in what respect? Could you,
I think we had been talking before about, um, I guess it kind of links back to what I was asking you about how you describe NLP to people.
yeah.
And so, how do we get into to the right state of mind? Right
Oh,
state? Well,
yeah.
that's interesting. I've just thought
Yeah.
about that word
Whatever the
again.
right state is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I see what you mean. So how do people get, I think a lot, well, I think this is linked very much to one's what we call physiology, and but that sounds a bit, complicated word, but it's about um how you present yourself in a certain situation. So, for example, if I see my client and they're sort of slumped in the chair and their face is really down, and it's about reading where they are, and certainly we call this calibrating. Where's your client? What sort of state are they in? And then obviously asking relevant questions to work out what's behind that. Oh,
Mm,
how are you feeling today? So I think it's very much a coach's job to be very alert to that, and to build that relationship, build that rapport. We call it the rapport as well, as a big word in NLP. And and then also to note when a person is talking about something, they're certainly from, it can be as simple as the way that their eyes move or their face moves, or again the way that they're positioning themselves. And often that is, if it's something that really excites them or something that really motivates them, is again to raise their way. Oh, I just noticed that you were talking about something. There was a lady in my group actually, and she just, her face lit up when I asked her something about what she enjoyed doing. We were talking about what you enjoy in life as being part of a strength, because we tend to be good at things we enjoy. When I said, what do you enjoy? And she said, oh, I enjoy, her face just like lit up, so her body, and she had the biggest, broadest, loveliest smile. And I said to her, do you know what? I can tell you really enjoy that, and you're really good at it, because your whole face has changed. And again, so I think it's just like she goes, oh, does it? Did it? She didn't really know that. She didn't realize that. And yeah, so I think, yeah, it's about, again, it's this raising that awareness of yeah, how we're all looking and feeling and how we approach things. And I always think of the weather actually, because I said to them one morning that we went, it was a really quite a dull morning. And I said, well, we've got a choice here. We can wake up on that dull morning and we can go, oh, it's a really, oh gosh, it's raining again, isn't it? Or we can go, okay, guys, like we can like sit out and go, okay, it's raining, but okay, but that does not necessarily determine what's going to happen today. So how could I think about this? Can I go, right, well, it's raining today, but it might not rain tomorrow and I'm going to feel better? Or, it's how we approach things. And it's the same, if you have to stand up in front of a audience and talk to people, if you go, oh, I feel really, your body goes like this, and well,
mm,
you can see, but you can imagine, can't you, that you're all sort of withdrawn, and oh, it's all painful. My face goes really painful when I when I want to do something. It's really obvious. But if I go, okay, I'm standing firm and I'm going to stand here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to feel confident. So it's having the resources, drawing on the resources that you need in a positive way.
mm.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
physiology is all about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Just listening to you has made me realize how very integrated so many factors of NLP are, and also can hear as you're talking the way in which it's integrated in the way that you work. There's no component parts that are fitted together. It just is who you are when you coach, which is incredible. So
Oh,
yeah,
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, people say it's not, and I hate this sort of description of NLP as a tool or a strategy. It's a set of principles, and it's a set of principles by which a coach works. And there are some strategies within that. And I think that as you become more experienced, and I'm not yet, I've got a lot to learn still about NLP, and the people that trained me, were just so exceptionally perceptive and able to draw on those strategies at any point during their coaching, just like that. And I think that in the early days of using NLP within coaching, there is a little bit more planning for it. And it's something that you might notice in one session and go, oh, and then introduce to your client in another session and say, I noticed last time, and I'm going to invite you, to do this, to take you through this process and help you think about your state of mind. Um, and I think people who are super experienced and have been doing NLP for many years just naturally can do it on that moment,
Mm,
because there is a, it's complex. It's not, um, you have to learn and you have to do it through experience.
mm.
So,
That's a really interesting observation. I worked with somebody this morning, and in fact, we did some values elicitation.
oh yes,
That's another whole conversation, isn't it? As you were talking earlier about what
yeah,
values are. And after that moment, I thought this would be perfect for a
mm,
parks
mm,
integration process, but we just didn't have the right level of time to go into it at that
yeah,
point.
yeah,
Yeah, it's about coming back to it at a suitable point, isn't it?
yes,
Just
it
holding
is.
it in mind.
It is, because it could take up a whole session as well. So if you were doing, I've often done it with so if I have a block, if I have people for say 4 sessions, per somebody, and then I might have done that during our sort of setting up the sessions, on our sort of talking about what we're going to do in coaching. I might introduce it then and say one of those sessions we could do some NLP, certainly.
Mm,
But I do think it does take practice, and it's not it takes practice with the person as well to get used to it. So I did
mm,
some with my ladies last week. We did something called practice accessing state, and it's just a way just to get them to think of the premises that if you think of a time when you felt a certain very useful resource, like feeling confident or energized or calm maybe, or powerful, those sorts of words, if you've had that experience before and you can conjure up that image in your head, then if you can do it from a previous event, you can then apply that to a future event where
mm,
you need it,
mm,
using using something called anchoring,
mm.
which helps you to bring that up at the moment that you need it. Um, yeah. So
Fabulous.
yeah.
We've covered so many aspects, actually,
Hmm.
Alison, both the philosophical thinking and NLP. So thank you very much. I've got a few quick questions to finish with, if I may.
Please.
So I'm curious to know, what have you had particular success with in NLP? You've touched on some of the different tools, if you like, or techniques that you've used.
Yes, certainly. There's something called the Circle of Excellence, and it's about taking three um, sort of very three resources, three of your own resources that you want, like being confident, powerful, like the words I've just, or and energized, or whatever the client wishes to choose. And I had one lady, and she just wanted to feel more. Um, she wanted to change the way she felt within a work situation where there was she felt under pressure and not very confident in meetings. And we used this, I used this practice accessing state from a time when she had felt that, and then used this, which is three in a row, where you and it just really, she said she just could conjure that image up at the moment that she was in a meeting, and she felt it had just been very, very useful
Mhm.
indeed. So I think, yeah, using certainly in those scenarios, I've had several of those opportunities to help people.
Mm, brilliant. And I know that you've written a lot of articles, or say a lot, a number of articles
One or two.
for coaches and communities that we can
Yes.
signpost in the episode description. But what one thing would you want people listening to take away about NLP?
I think it's about this idea that our state of mind is temporary, and we are able to shift that with some raising of awareness, and that can really help us to think more positively generally in life
Mm,
when we need it, but not to deny that some things are difficult, but we all need some help in managing that. And NLP is a very, very useful principle and set of tools for some people.
brilliant. And very last, and probably the most easy question, Alison, how can people reach you in your coaching practice?
Oh, well, I'm certainly they can reach me through my Facebook page I have, because I do quite a lot of local work. I'm also on Instagram as a philosophical thinking coach, and on LinkedIn as well. So yes, those
Fantastic. We'll
three
make sure.
social media ways.
Brilliant. The three media ways, we'll make sure they're mentioned in the episode description
Thank
as well,
you.
so they've got easy access. So yeah, my enormous thanks to you, Alison Allsopp, philosophical thinking life coach. Thank you for increasing our understanding through your life lessons on NLP in 2020 Coaching Convos. And to 2020 podcast followers, if you enjoyed this episode, do go ahead and share and subscribe, and tell me what you want to hear more about in 2020 I can't say it, 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. Till next time.
Thank you, Julie.